Thanks for staying. Welcome back to the marketplace. Now, Cocoa Board should, from the end of this month, start engaging investors outside the country to raise funds to purchase cocoa for the next crop season. But could this be Cocoa Board's most challenging fundraising exercise? George Biafe has more.
The officials of Cocoa Board could start engaging commercial banks and other investors possibly from June 21. Joy Business understands the roadshow for its annual cocoa loan syndication will take officials to London. It is, however, not clear for now the amount the board is targeting in this roadshow. That is, whether it might go for the more than $1.8 billion raised last year from some 23 commercial banks. But for many, looking at the dwindling price of cocoa on the international market, which lost some $1,500 and is trading at around $1,900 a ton, and the oversupply problem on the market, reports of corruption at Cocoa Board according to a World Bank report, and how the $1.8 billion raised last year was spent, there are fears this roadshow could be interesting. However, others say looking at Cocoa Board's track record with this loan syndication, it would get whatever amount it's looking for. But the problem will be at what cost. Last year, the board paid 1.47% as interest on the funds raised. Also, with concerns being raised by some farmers over decision not to increase the producer price, which stands at 475 Ghana cedis for every 64 kilo bag. Could Cocoa Board be forced to raise more than the $2 billion? The influence from this exercise always goes a long way to strengthen the Ghana cedi. Analysts say even this news alone could go a long way to assure businesses of an improved reserve position for the Bank of Ghana, a development that could deal with a surge in demand for dollars locally.
Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says government has committed $1 million for the construction of a specialized agricultural university in the country, launching the 10th anniversary of the West African Center for Crop Improvement. Ken Ofori-Atta also hinted of a special fund to make agriculture become a leading contributor to GDP by 2020.
Ghana's Agric sector has become a key area of concern following its dwindling fortunes for some time now. It is against this backdrop that the West Africa Center for Crop Improvement has launched its 10th anniversary with the aim of projecting the Agric sector through science and technology. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta revealed his ministry is committing $1 million for the construction of what is expected to be known as Africa's most specialized Agric university. He believes this will go a long way to address the challenges facing the sector through scientific research.
Let me start the ball rolling by pledging from the Ministry of Finance, Education, I may take it from your budget, but $1 million. For the completion and furnishing, I just saw, I think they wrote 1 million Ghana cedis, but hey, I have mentioned $1 million, so be it. Which I hope will help with the completion and furnishing of the Waki multi-purpose building. And I hope and expect it to become a hub, the greatest center for plant breeding education in Africa and the world, and attract funding as such.
Touching on the issue of food insecurity in Ghana, the Agric Minister, Dr. Owusu Efriakoto, stated that government is considering making the country a seed economy through the passage of the plant breeders.
Only 11% of maize farmers use improved seed. The 89% or so use traditional seed, which they've used over and over and over again. In spite of that, this country is self-sufficient in maize. And the wonderful thing about these statistics is one thing. The traditional seed gives you something like less than half a ton per hectare. The open pollinated can give you up to 3 tons per hectare. The hybrid, as we know it, can give you 6-7 tons per hectare. But what he is telling us, they can do 9 to 10 tons per hectare. We have started with this major season. Now, the spearhead of that is what we are calling the planting for food and jobs, by choosing something like 200,000 farmers across the country, all the 216 districts, and focusing to make sure that they have the seed, the improved seed for 5 main cereals: rice, maize, sorghum, soya, and some tomatoes and other vegetables.
All right, so we shall be exploring more on this particular decision by government to commit $1 million to establish an agricultural university in the country, and we'll be speaking with an expert of Agric for his or her thoughts on this particular development. But moving on the marketplace, government will within the next 2 weeks begin the disbursement of funds for stimulus package promised industries in the 2017 budget. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Kwadwo, who announced this, said more than 200 potential companies have already applied to receive funds from the package. The stimulus package is part of government's policy initiatives to revive defunct industries with the capacity to creating employment for the youth.
As part of initiatives by governments to revamp local industries, a stimulus package for existing but struggling companies was introduced in the 2017 budget. Minister of Trade and Industry Alan Tremantin hinted the current administration is committed to fulfilling all promises made to the private sector, hence the decision to roll out the initiative. He disclosed that more than 200 private sector businesses have applied and going through the process of assessing funds in a few weeks. He made the disclosure after inaugurating a 13-member advisory board for the Trade Ministry.
The medium and long-term objective is not to continue feeding state enterprises with stimulus support, but to turn them over to the private sector.
It's been 6 months since the new government. When are we going to have this stimulus package? Private people have been asking us, when is the stimulus package coming? We are in June.
We've started rolling it out. All those who expressed an interest in participating in the program, they can give you the status report, because they've been invited for discussions in respect of their various companies. So unless you had applied for participation in the package, you may not quite understand what has been going on. But I can tell you, for example, that under the stimulus package, we have almost 290 companies that have already expressed an interest. They have been profiled. They've gone through a diagnostic exercise. They've been profiled. And so within the next couple of weeks, we would then start the disbursements based on what we found out in the diagnostic.
Confirming to Joy Business, President of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Nana Dr. Apiaje Dankawoso I, who is also a member of the board, noted some members of the chamber have engaged government on the stimulus package plan and hopeful of receiving funds to support their operations.
That is true. The ministry consulted us to come up with a list of companies that are members of the chamber that are viable but distressed. And so in that response, we have sent the list to the minister, and so they are considering some of these companies which are very viable but distressed.
Other representatives of the board are from the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Private Enterprise Foundation, PEF, and some individual entrepreneurs.
Meanwhile, the president of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Nana Dr. Apiaje Dankawoso I, is urging government to allow foreign retailers in the Ghanaian market to go through the right procedures in getting permits to trade in Ghana. He said Ghana, as a member of the ECOWAS, has guidelines for investors who might express interest in opening a business in the country to enhance competitiveness. He believes when Ghana gives opportunities to foreign investors, more jobs can be created for the youth.
Educate the private sector more on where to go and to formulate legal framework on how this one district, one factory will work and work well, and to achieve the objective to have the intended purpose also realized.
Now, finally, on this this issue of foreign retailers in our market as part of the advisory services, I don't know. Do you have any advice for the minister on how to deal with this issue? Because we've had the GIPC boss saying government is not going to actually protect the locals in the retail, but it's rather going to help them to expand. I don't know, as member of the advisory board, a key member at that, what advice are you going to give to the ministry or the government on this issue?
There are certain things citizens can do. There are certain things foreigners cannot do. So in that direction, we need to look at the framework well, where citizens can do what can do and where non-citizens cannot do. If somebody comes here and wants to work, the person has to go through a process and qualify to do whatever work in the country. And it pertains in almost all the protocols around the globe. So for me, in terms of competitiveness, we need to allow, because we have the free trade market. And so if you want to go into any other market in the sub-region for West Africa, the conditions are there.
So live on the marketplace, let's now take a breather here for some investment tips.
Investment tip is brought to you by Daffin Finance, Deposit, Investment, Borrowing Advisory.
It is important to know that the longer you invest, the more money you're going to make. Starting your investment journey early will enable you accumulate more money because of the compounding rates of return.
Investment tip was brought to you by Daffin Finance, Deposit, Investment, Borrowing Advisory.
MDC, what is the company?
You're live on the marketplace. Welcome back after the investment tip. And the Ghana Stock Exchange boss, Kofi Yamwa, has admitted that delays in appointing new board members for the Securities and Exchange Commission are affecting the market. The Stock Exchange Managing Director disclosed this when pharmaceutical firm Intravenous Infusion took his turn at the Ghana Stock Exchange Facts Behind the Figures session. George Biafi was there. He has joined me right here in the studio to explore the issues further. George, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Rafi.
Right, so how bad is this situation?
Well, you have over 30 companies listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, for these companies, these are banks, normal finance houses, or even other capital firms and all those things. Now, at any point in time when they need to maybe bring in fresh capital, they need to do some activities, they need the permission of the Ghana Stock Exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission. And this commission is supposed to have a board. But there isn't any board right now. We don't know what the reason is or whatever. And the fact is that if they can't get the opportunity to raise this capital to bring into the business, to expand and all those things, then it's affecting them. Don't forget, some of these companies have even gone out to engage investors to bring in fresh capital. And because the board cannot meet to approve the decision of the executive as SEC, it means that they are supposed to be waiting. And, you know, money also would find space or find other avenues if you are delaying or blocking some avenues.
Now, in the absence of a board, don't you think the management could take some
Well,
decisions?
the law says that it's supposed to be blessed by the board. So even if the executive takes a decision that, okay, we have investments that need to be approved to come onto the market, well, the board still needs to give its blessing. It's another form of checks and balances that are in place to ensure that we protect this area, because don't forget, you and I, our funds are with these firms.
Exactly.
And measures and institutions are supposed to be in place to ensure that these funds are managed well. And that is why these more of structured laws or more of these tough laws are put in place to protect the funds of you and I. And that is how bad the situation is. But when I spoke to the MD, yes, he admitted that, yes, there's a problem. But he believes that government should be made aware of the situation for them to act very fast. The finance minister has to act, name the persons. Maybe he can consider you, Yafe, as one of the board members of the Securities and Exchange Commission to be on that board.
Well, I'll be glad. But what reasons did the managing director raise or cite for the lack of this
well, he also is a player on the market, but he admitted that it is a problem. But again, going forward, he believes that the lessons should have been learned, that going forward, before the law should be reviewed, so that the current board will still be on till it's reconstituted. And that should be the approach going forward, so that there wouldn't be this gap or this space for them to wait for a new board to come in before they work on all these requests that are on their table in terms of the approvals for the respective capital companies and even banks and all the rest that are listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. All right. Now you were at the facts behind the figures. Intravenous is one of the main companies listed on the GAX. On the alternate market. Exactly. You're right on that one. What's the performance? Well, it's been quite good. And again, engaging the managing director's argument was that, yes, the market comes with some scrutiny, a lot of scrutiny, but it's been quite beneficial to them in terms of the fact that access to long-term capital, access to, certain things that they wouldn't have gotten if they had not been on the market. And also he spoke about some expansion plans that they are undertaking. They control quite, in terms of monopoly, in terms of supplying certain equipment to hospitals in the country. Sure. And the fact that we are seeing more public hospitals coming up, or government has expanded these facilities, there's more avenue for them to also target these areas. But his problem has been with the time that it takes for government to pay them through the NHIs. Sure. And some of these payments should be made quickly so that they can help improve their bottom line. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Rafi. Great to be on the marketplace. All right, thanks a lot. And George Rafi bringing us some news from the capital market, where the lack of a board for the Securities and Exchange Commission is posing some problems for the capital market. Now, in 2009, chemical engineer Yao Erujemfipoku decided to explore the market for natural cosmetic products. Having lived in the northern part of the country for a while, he had seen tons of shea butter exported from Ghana to other countries for use by global cosmetic companies. Then he thought, why can't we move beyond just exporting? That birthed the Penny brand, which features on this week's episode of the Joy Business Fund. Here's a repeat.
As you can see, he's operating the machines. The things are cooking in here, so we would not ideally be opening it. So once it's cooked properly and all the things are, I think, mixed properly, we'll homogenize it.
Sophisticated mixing machines at work, mixing ingredients for various cosmetic products. This is a portion of Yao Erujemfipoku's home, converted into a production center. He's not around today, but his co-founder, Yasafo Isi, is.
We have them down there. It's cooking at very high heat, as I said. So once it cooks at this very high heat, you have to let it cool down.
Yasafo Isi, a lawyer, is a sister of Yao. At the time he came up with the idea of starting a cosmetic line, she didn't know what to expect.
He was working in the northern region, and the business that they were doing at that time had to do with shea butter. So he realized most of the shea butter is being taken out unprocessed. And as a chemical engineer, you should be able to add value to it. You should know the process equipment to use. So he came back home saying he wanted to go study cosmetics. In fact, I was shocked when I heard it. And I said, okay, fair enough. So he told my mom and my dad, and they said, okay, they were going to sponsor him to go learn it. In fact, at that time, he was supposed to go do his master's. So once he went to the school, I think Clarkson University, and he gave the teacher some chocolate. He said, do you produce this in Ghana? He said, yes. They never knew we had finished chocolates in Ghana. So he said he was going to throw him a challenge to come back and do something with our butters. And that's when he came back and said he wanted to do cosmetics, and we find ourselves here today.
Production at the time they started was done manually. Yao was more of a guinea pig at the beginning. Yao's formulas were tested on hair all the time. In 2010, the now perfected Pini was tested on the market. The feedback was good.
Most of them will tell you, I like the fragrance of the product because they're expecting raw shea butter, coconut oil, olive oil to give off a certain smell. And your ability to mask it, still have that percentage of essential oils in your product, and it smells just nice, okay, makes them happy. They didn't expect. When you say, oh, it's raw shea butter, but I think most of the people, after they've sampled it, wow, is this made here? Then they're surprised.
But founders of Pini wanted to be different. To become a top cosmetic brand meant they had to do things differently. So they didn't just process and package, but sought to add medicinal properties to their products.
But once you have a product, and I would want to give some credit to Rabito Skin Clinic, because when we started doing the cosmetics, and we said we wanted a cosmetic that was not just a moisturizer, but had healing properties, the correct formula that would take the essential oils and make sure your body absorbs it. They were willing to grow and help us, okay, be able to work on the product and develop it and patronize it at the end of the day. So it gives you so much confidence that I have that formula. We've just figured it out.
Pini officially launched in 2012, selling 100% organic products for skin and hair from naturally sourced oils and agro products at major retail outlets in Ghana and online in the US, Canada, and UK via Amazon.
It needs to go through again. We didn't finish.
Thanks to technology, just a few hands are needed at the factory. But up north, where Pini sources its raw materials, it employs and pays for the services of hundreds of rural women who hand make the shea butter. The goal is to become an international brand and the #1 exporter of quality made in Ghana cosmetics. Ya believes Ghanaians should be encouraged to produce and patronize their own products.
So when you see your product, Pini, how do you feel?
I feel, let me say, proud. Proud, because the look and feel of people when they see it is, we didn't expect this to come from us. The level of attention you've paid to it, it should not have come from here. And it's nice when people say that and you say, we did it here. It can be done. And I'm not waiting to receive $3 million before I start. Even if it's a table stop, I'm going to start and I'm going to strive for the perfection. So when you see people's faces and they think it's a foreign brand, you kind of feel good. At least I can do something that without saying people think it's a foreign brand.
7 years in the business, and although they've made significant strides, Ya says Pini has only just started.
The future for the Pini brand, I hope, is to take control of our raw materials and add tremendous value to it. Controlling it is important for us to be able to standardize our prices and to be able to compete internationally. That's the ultimate goal. And to put food on the table, because anybody involved in the Pini line should become better off at the end of the day.
All right, so you catch the Joy Business Fund every Wednesday on Business Live with a repeat on the Marketplace, and that's where we draw the curtains on this edition of the Marketplace. Thank you so much for your attention.